coming out. I became Canadian somehow? Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with my anticipated releases of 2022. How was that a real year? So it is time to go over all of the books that are coming out in 2022 that I am beyond excited about. So I have a running list. I've had a running list for a couple of months now, and it's a little bit ridiculous. So strap in, we're gonna have quite a video here. Now some of these I'm really excited about because they're authors that I love or they're part of series that I have read in the past and have loved. So some of these I don't actually know a whole lot about, so I'll leave a list down below of all the ones that I can find if you'd like to learn more information or pre-order one of these yourselves. Now, before we get into it, this is going to be in the order of what I could find the dates that they came out on. So we're starting at the beginning of the year and going to the end of the year, and now I don't have a lot of months in here because some of the later months they don't have books quite yet, so there's probably going to be more than the ones that are on this list. But I'm so excited, so strap in and let's dive in. So I will say, looking at this list, that all of the January books that I've got on this list will have come out by the time you're seeing this video, so all of those you can go ahead and get, but only the first one is out as of recording it right now, and that one is Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shannon McGuire. It's the 7th book in her Wayward Children's series. I love this series so much, and this was actually a lovely Christmas gift from my friend Teresa, so thank you so much, Teresa. We actually have been buddy reading this entire series. But this follows a bunch of kids who go through magical doorways, kind of like the kids from Narnia, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, things like that. And sometimes they get kicked out of their worlds for one reason or another. And this follows a home where all of these children go to be around people like themselves as they're waiting, hopefully, for their doors to reopen. Now, this one I'm very interested about because it follows like a totally different situation. All the ones that we've read before either take place in actual worlds or they follow people in like a kind of an adventure that surrounds the kids that are currently in the home. This one follows the kid that is named Cora, and we've seen her a couple of times. We were introduced to her in the 3rd book, and then she came back again, I think twice more, maybe just once more. But this follows her as she goes to a different home. That's not the Wayward Children home. It's a different home in a different place in the country, I want to say. And that sounds fascinating. The big difference between these two schools is that the one that Cora is going to be transferring to is not as friendly and not as safe. I don't know what that means, but I'm very, very interested, and oh my god, I love this series so much. The next one is called The Monarchs, and it is the sequel to The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Daniel Page. This is one that I read the first one of in, I think it was September or October, I mean, it was probably October last year, and utterly devoured. I fell in love with this world. So this one comes out on the 11th of the month, and I didn't realize there was going to be a second one after I finished the first book. This is going to be a duology. It looks like there's not going to be anything else in this world. The first one in this series, The Ravens, follows the sorority on a college campus that is known to be very picky about who they accept into their sorority. Now, on the outside, it just looks like they're super picky, but actually, they are a coven, and the only people who are included in this sorority are witches. And so the first book follows the pledge master that year, as well as a girl who didn't know she had magical powers who is actually pledging for this sorority. And then some crazy stuff happens after that. So I'm excited to see where the next one goes. I'm not 100% sure about it. It sounds like it's going to follow all the same characters. And then there's also something that surrounds a different sorority that's kind of like possibly also a coven, maybe? I don't know. It sounded interesting, but I loved the first one so much that I got a special edition of this one as well, so I could get it signed by the authors and have it match my first one. The next one is actually one that I'm currently reading as of recording this because I do have an ARC, and that is The Runaway Duchess. Now this is a companion sequel to the first book, which is called The Duke Undone, which I actually got a NetGalley ARC last year as well, and ended up reading that one and really liking it. Forgot to tell you, it's by Joanna Lowell. Wow, I'm really good at this. So when I looked on Goodreads, I noticed that there was a sequel to The Duke Undone, and I was like, wait. I didn't know this was a thing. So I went in and found it, and it sounded really good, and I liked the first one so much that I put it on my anticipated releases list, and then I was lucky enough to get an ARC. So in theory, by the time you see this video, I will have a Goodreads review, so don't forget to check that out if you would like to know more. It does come out on the 18th of January. So after the events of the first book, it follows our main character Vivian, who is in some really dire situations. She is struggling for money, she is struggling with a lot of scandal that is surrounding her, and she kind of ends up getting married to this really old sleazebag. And so as they are leaving to go on, I think to get to either their honeymoon or where they actually like are living, she gets mistaken by this other guy named Neil as this woman who is this very big botanist. And so Vivian's like, sounds great to me, and she pretends to be this woman to get away from her situations. And craziness ensues. So I am very excited about this. I loved this character of Vivian. She did show up in the first book a little bit, so it was really interesting to see everything from her perspective, especially after the events of the first book, because all of the events really impact her life. So so far so good. So far so good. And the last book that comes out in January, I'm actually going to talk about two books because they're by the same author, and one comes out a little bit later. We have Electric Idol, which comes out on the 18th as well, and this is the second in the Dark Olympus series by Katie Robert. And then also the third one, which is Wicked Beauty, comes out on June 7th. So this is the second and third book in this Dark Olympus world, and this is a very fun kind of contemporary look at Greek mythology. The first one in this book, or in the series Neon Gods, I read last year and utterly devoured. It is very, very adult, as you can expect from Katie Robert book, to be honest. So Electric Idol, the second one, is actually a Psyche and Eros retelling, and we did see Psyche a little bit in the first one. I believe she is Persephone's sister. I don't remember if that's true in Greek mythology, but it's true in this world. And then Wicked Beauty is a trouble. It's got Helen of Troy, Achilles, and Patroclus in it. I do have them pre-ordered on my Kindle just because I have the first one on my Kindle, but these are very, very, very adult romance kind of retellings, but I loved the first one. I loved how Katie Robert set up this world. I thought it was really interesting, and I can't wait to see the other things and the other kind of books she's got in this series. I'm not sure if there's any more beyond those two, but I know that those two for sure. It looks like that's it for now. But you guys know I like Greek mythology, so of course, what's better than smutty Greek mythology? The only book I've got for February is actually, this should not be a surprise to anybody, but House of Sky and Breath, which is the second in the Crescent City series. And you guys know I love that book so much. It was my favorite book of last year, I think, is what it ended up being. And it was so freaking good. And I don't even remember what the second one's about. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've completely forgotten. Have I even read a synopsis? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure. But this comes out on the 15th of February. You better believe I've pre-ordered this. But this is set in a world where you've got this very urban fantasy setting, and it's the city called Crescent City, and it's basically holds a bunch of different types of mythical and magical creatures. You've got witches and vampires and werewolves and archangels. So it's basically a hodgepodge of all of these people. And some crazy weird stuff starts happening, and so the archangel, who is kind of like the ruler of this city, enlists the help of our main character, Bryce. And she is half fae, and he's hoping that she's gonna help figure out what's going on, and then he gives her the protection of a fallen angel named Hunt, and the two of them have to figure out what's going on. And there's just some weird kind of mystery elements to the first book, and I'm very curious to see how the second one goes, because Sarah J. Maas likes to switch up everything in the second book. She likes to introduce a new love interest. She likes to kind of just have the first book as here's kind of what's going on, and then you start the second book, and that's where the actual plot of the series comes into play. So I'm curious what she's going to do, because I love Hunt so much. I don't want her to hurt him. So I'm very scared, but also very excited, because I freaking love this book, and I cannot wait. Like, this is one of those books that, like, I'm for sure gonna stop everything and read once I get it. The next one is actually also an arc that I've got on NetGalley, but it was on this list before I was approved for it, and that is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma, I believe is how you pronounce it, and this one comes out on March 15th. Now this one actually was introduced to me via Katie Robert, actually. Like, she ended up reading an arc of this and devoured it and kind of like was sharing its praises, and I looked into it, and it was a Shakespeare retelling of sorts. This says it's a hilarious romantic comedy inspired by Taming of the Shrew, and it features a love-phobic TV doctor who must convince a love-obsessed homebody they are destined to be together. And that just sounds so freaking good. So I cannot wait to get to this arc that I've got. I'm probably going to get to it in February sometime, but seriously, was already on my excited list. Alright, starting off April, we've got actually two that come out on the same day, and the first one is Sense and Second Degree Murder by Tirzah Price. This is the kind of companion sequel-ish, it's not really a sequel, to Pride and Premeditation, which I read earlier last year. What year is it? So the books in the series don't really have anything to do with each other, except for they're all murder mysteries based on a Jane Austen book. The first one obviously being Pride and Prejudice, and then this one being Sense and Sensibility. And there is a third one planned coming out next year, which is going to be based on Mansfield Park. But this one, honestly, that's all I really know. It says that the two sisters, Eleanor and Mary Ann, are going to work together to solve the mystery of their father's death, kind of like what I suspected. Eleanor is an aspiring scientist, and Mary Ann is a budding detective. So I'm very excited about this because I loved my experience reading the first one, and I love the idea of these murder mysteries, but with characters that you know and love. The other one that does come out in April, on April 5th, is To Marry and To Meddle, which is the third in the Regency Vows series. The other two are literally right here, is To Have and To Hoax, and To Love and To Loathe, and I literally love both of those books so much. And so this one is going to follow the third kind of girl that's in this friend group, and she is a debutante, and I think her father has a lot of debts, and that's why lots of people, she's basically still unmarried, but it's her and this theater owner, and they somehow get into a marriage of convenience, and obviously it's going to be more than that. There's going to be love and stuff, but these are both characters that we have come to know in the past two books, and I love, love, love Martha Waters' writing. I'm so excited to get another added book in this series. I'm not sure if there's any more beyond this one because, like I said, these are the three that are in this friend group, so it makes sense to end here. There's currently not any more planned according to Goodreads, but I love this author's work so much, and I feel like I read somewhere online that she was talking about how this one was the hardest one for her to write, and so I'm very curious to dive into it because I've loved her books in the past. They're very fun and have very cute and smexy scenes, but they also are so funny. She reminds me of Tessa Dare's writing. They're very, very humorous in that way. Coming out on May 3rd, we've got the first YA release by Casey McQuiston, and that is I Kissed Cher, Shara Wheeler. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. I really want to call her Sarah. I think it's Shara Wheeler, but I'm excited about this one. So I don't really know a whole lot about this book, I'm not gonna lie. It's on here because of the author. I read this author's debut, which was Red, White, and Royal Blue, which came out a couple of years ago, and then I did pre-order their last book, One Last Stop, which I'm gonna get to this year, dang it. And this is their newest book. Again, it's their first step into YA, that genre. They've written primarily new adult / adult, depending on where you lie with that one. But it sounds like it's going to take place in high school. This one does sound quite interesting because our main character's name is Chloe, and she is just trying to do the best at everything, and the valedictorian, but the prom queen, Sarah, is in the way, and then Sarah and Chloe kiss and Sarah disappears, and so she teams up with two people. We've got Smith, who is Sarah's longtime quarterback sweetheart, and Rory, Sarah's bad boy neighbor with a crush, and Sarah's left them all of these ridiculous cryptic messages, and it looks like the three of them are going to team up to figure out what the heck happened to her. So there's some sort of mystery element to this as well, which sounds fascinating because the cover looks very fun and cutesy and high school rom-com-y, but the synopsis tells a very different story. So I don't know, It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And then also on May 3rd, we have Bravely by Maggie Stiefvater, and this is her version of Brave, which is a Disney Pixar movie. Obviously, I'm sure many of you know. The movie's amazing. And the only thing that I really know about this book is that it is kind of a reimagining, not reimagining of the world of Brave, but it's like a continuation because it takes place many years after the events of the movie. And I am a huge fan of Merida. I love her. She's one of my favorite princesses, and it's honestly one of my favorite movies, I'm not gonna lie. So I was very interested when this one came out, and honestly that's all I know about it. Like, I've definitely pre-ordered this as well, but it followed Merida. That's all I know, and that's really all I needed to know to be excited about it. The next one that also comes out on May 3rd is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is her latest book. She's had 2 books that have come out. Obviously, I'm sure many of you know about them, but Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation, and this is her newest one. And this cover and title just screams book nerd to me. So this one is for book nerds everywhere, for sure. So we follow our main character, Nora, who is a literary agent, and she is cutthroat. She's like, never sees herself as the heroine of a story. She's just like, go, go, go. And her sister asks her for a sister trip just to get away from the city, just for the 2 of them. She loves her sister dearly, so she's like, yes, of course. And then she goes on this trip and ends up running into this guy named Charlie, who is a book editor from the city that she actually has previously known. And they keep running into each other over and over on this getaway. So I think it's gonna be a very cute little romance, but it sounds like this synopsis is full of like book puns and book references and things like that, so I'm very excited, and I think this is going to be perfect for all of us book lovers out there, hint the name. So yeah, I've loved the book that I've read by this author previously. I'm planning to read the other one this year as well, and then I can't wait for this one to come out because like it makes my book heart so happy. So the next book that comes out that I'm excited about, it comes out on May 17th, and that is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. This is their newest release. I am so excited. I love these authors. You guys know I love these authors so much. Now, I haven't pre-ordered this one quite yet because I'm weird and I like all of their books in paperback because I have all their books in paperback so far. So I don't know when I'll get around to this one, but this one sounds like a lot of fun for those like people who like adventures and stuff like that, because it follows our main 2 characters, Lily and Leo. And Lily is the daughter of a treasure hunter, basically, who basically left her bankrupt. And she is using all of these hand-drawn maps that he has left to bring, kind of like do like a guide thing where you take a bunch of tourists on this adventure of the desert and stuff, and that's how she makes, you know, ends meet. And she is confronted by her past when this guy named Leo, who is kind of like the one that got away, comes back into her life, and so she takes him and his friends on, you know, an adventure like she would with anybody else, and then things go horribly wrong. I don't know what that is, it just says things go horribly wrong, and it also sounds like the maps that her father has drawn may actually be accurate, and so they might actually go on this kind of treasure hunting adventure. I don't know. Honestly, I was excited because it was a Christina Lauren book, and it is my goal to read all of their books because I love them so much. So this is definitely on here for the author. But like, that synopsis sounds amazing as well. Alright, coming out on June 5th, we have Volume 2 of Lore Olympus. I actually have the first one of this. It's on my list of books to read before the end of the year. I'm planning on hopefully getting to it sometime this month. But this is Volume 2, which just follows along, obviously, from Volume 1. But this is a kind of modernized fantasy retelling of Hades and Persephone. And the illustration in these books are stunning. You can read all of the kind of up-to-date, because it was a webcomic at one point before it was put into print. So if you like the first one or the second volume and you want to keep reading, you can find them online up to where the author has actually continued writing them. But this is just the second volume. The next book that I am beyond stoked for is The Sizzle Paradox by Lily Menon, and this one comes out on June 14th. This is the second by this author as far as her adult books go. This is the author who writes YA under the name of Sandia Menon, so it's the same author. But this is her second step into adult. I do actually have a copy of this, an arc of this as well. I'm very excited to get to it, but it sounds like fun for all those people who, it just gives me like college vibes. So this follows our main character, Lyric, who is doing a doctoral thesis on kind of what she's calling the Sizzle Paradox, which is the science behind why couples work. I think is basically what it boils down to. And she has no real world application for this, so the science isn't quite adding up. So she goes to her best friend, Kyan, who is a fellow grad student, and he has no trouble with romance and stuff. So he ends up giving her some tips so that she can go out and do kind of like experiments, go on dates and do experiments and things like that for her thesis. But obviously the two of them, something's gonna happen between the two of them, because it always does. So this sounds like a very fun kind of friends to lovers romance, but I loved the last book, Makeup Breakup, by this author, and I'm so excited for her second step into the adult genre. Starting out August, on the 2nd, we have My Imaginary Mary by the Lady Janies. This is their second in their Mary series that they're doing. The first one came out last year, and this one follows Mary Shelley, actually, who is the author of Frankenstein, as I'm sure many of you know. So it follows her, and then also follows Ada Lovelace, who is the daughter of Lord Byron in this world, and then she has a very like mechanical brain, Ada does, and she is trying to create kind of like the equivalent of an AI at this point, an autonomous thinking machine. And so she and Mary kind of team up, and then this machine tends to, something happened, and this machine kind of is now free thinking and on its own. And then also it mentions the two of them find out that they're fae, so like magical people, and there's just some craziness going on in this one, and these authors really like to take a historical figure, whether it's real, like a real life person like Mary Shelley, or someone who is from fiction. They love to just kind of like mess with history, really, and bring some sort of fantastical element to it. This one, it seems like it's going to be the fae part of it, and I am beyond excited. I love these authors. I've loved their work in the past. Some of them didn't hit as well as others, but I love their writing and their ideas. They're always so funny and so clever. So I'm so excited about this one. Alright, the next one is Husband Material by Alexis Hall, and this one comes out on the 2nd of August. And this is the second in the Boyfriend Material series. I read the first one, I think it came out last year, so I read that one, and it was so cute and fun. It followed these two guys who kind of get into a fake dating relationship for different reasons, and then it turns into, you know, it's complicated feelings, turns into more. And this one I really don't know anything about, except for that it follows the same characters. It's called Husband Material, which makes me think that there is a wedding of some sort. So yeah, it looks like this is the next step in these two, their relationship. And I just loved them so much in the first one, so I can't wait to dive into this one as well. The next one is I actually don't have a cover for. I haven't been able to find it, so I'm pretty sure it hasn't been released yet. But this one comes out on August 18th, and it is A Duel with the Vampire Lord, and it is by Elise Kova. This is the third in her Married to Magic series. The first two I actually have. It's Deal with an Elf King and Dance with the Fae Prince, or something like that. And so this one obviously is set in that same world. Again, a companion series, so you don't have to read all of them for them to make sense. They all just happen to take place in the same world. And this one obviously is going to deal with some sort of vampire something. So again, I literally don't know a thing about this because the cover hasn't even been released yet, but I've loved this series, so I was really excited when I found out that another one was coming out. The next one coming out on August 30th is called The Final Gambit. This is the third in the Inheritance game series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Again, I don't know a whole lot about this. I looked up the synopsis at one point and then I've completely forgotten about it. So this series has been a lot of fun. I've read the first two, and this will be the official end of the trilogy. But the first one follows our main character, Avery, who is struggling to make ends meet. She's just trying to live, basically, and finds out that this very wealthy man who owns the Hawthorne, or is the matriarch of the Hawthorne family, passes away and leaves everything to her. So she's got lots of money, and she's all the scandal and like political intrigue within a family and things like that. Like, that's what this series is. But there's also a lot of mystery and a lot of like puzzle solving and things like that. So it's been a lot of fun, but I'm very curious where we're going to go from here, because like the second book felt like it ended. So I'm curious to see what other twist this author has in store for us and how she's gonna finish out this series in this world. And the very last book is actually one that's not supposed to come out according to Goodreads until December 31st, but I pre-ordered a copy from the author's Etsy, which is currently on its way to me, so I'm gonna be getting it like this month. But that is Kiss of a Selkie by Tessonia Odette. This is the third in her Entangled with Fae series. This is another series that is a companion series. You don't have to read them in any kind of order or all of them. You can kind of pick and choose, but they take place in the same world and they all are based on some sort of fairy tale. The first one was Beauty and the Beast, the second one was Cinderella, and this one is obviously The Little Mermaid. I don't know a whole lot about this one because, again, I bought it because the author. I love the author's work. I've literally got like almost all of, I think I have all of the author's books at this point. So I was very excited when a third one in the series was coming out, so I couldn't wait to get my hands on a matching copy. And that is it. There's a few other books that I've got my eye on throughout the year, but those are my anticipated releases. Again, there's a lot for the beginning of the year, not a whole lot for the end of the year, so there will definitely be more throughout the year once we learn what's coming out in the fall. So if I have a lot more coming out in the fall that I'm excited about, I will possibly do a part 2 to this near the middle of the year, but this is where we're at right now. I'm very, very excited for a lot of these. I have pre-ordered almost all of them, not quite. There's a few I haven't pre-ordered yet, but I'm very, very excited about all of these books. Like, oh my goodness, this year is going to be so good. But please let me know down below what books you are excited for, your anticipated releases of 2022. Do any of yours align with mine? Do we have some of the same ones? I'd love to know those as well. Oh, and if you want to say something but you don't know what to say, do the like praise hands. Like, you know, the two that go like this. Those are my like, yay, excited hands. I'm sure that's not what they're actually meant for, but like, you know, the ones that I mean. Put those if you want to put something. But if you liked this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!